Yo, and welcome back to the Lake of Rage podcast. This is episode 107, I believe. We're going a little out of order. I am not Mellow Magic Harp. I'm Boosie K, Grant Matthew in real life, filling in for Mellow this week. And I've got a very special guest. He is the most recent regional champion in North America, and he's not even from here.
Whoa!
Whoa! I have Henry Brand.
Hello.
Hi. And we are here in person. This is the first in-person recording of the Lake of Rage podcast. So milestones all about.
Yeah, we are breaking new ground. Brand new ground.
Brand
even.
new ground, yes. Yeah. Very punny. All right, Henry, what do you think? You're the champ.
That's me.
That's you.
It was good. Well, I was about to say this before you cut me off, saying, enough talking, wait for the podcast. So I was saying, it's been a slight adjustment because last weekend, I've won Worlds before, but last weekend compared to Australian events where you kind of know everyone, I'm friends with everyone, or regardless of that, people know me. Last weekend, I feel like I was incognito. I felt like I was just started playing again. It was really nice, actually. Not that I usually mind people coming up and saying hello. It's obviously really nice, but a little bit of almost placidness to the tournament. And my opponents just talked to me like I was a regular person, and there's no pressure. It was really relaxing. And then today, I've just checked in, and it's the complete opposite again. So we're back to the main.
That's good.
The normal thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think last week it was interesting. It did have that calm effect for being a large tournament. But when you compare it to Worlds that you won, Worlds was a tiny event when you think about it, right? So
yeah,
1,200
by attendance
people.
there's a lot.
Yeah,
but by player size, not really. Yeah.
And so you get a lot of locals. I was just outside and we're walking down the street and hearing them talk about this one's going to be bigger than San Jose. Now I didn't play at San Jose. That was probably 5 years ago now. And they're like, well, that was a bigger event. Hearing people talk about these events and how much they've grown, but for you to come across and just take down a 1,200 person event's pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, it's super special. We don't have that many players in Australia.
Yeah.
Right? It's a different vibe, regardless of... And I kind of point this out, any comments I make on this is really got nothing to do with difficulty or player caliber or anything like that. It's just a completely different vibe.
Yeah.
And it's also a different skill set that you need, really, because when you're playing in Australia, you don't quite need the stamina that you do for long tournaments. And I was particularly worried about that. I've got to play 9 rounds day one, and then I've got to wake up crack of dawn the next day, and I've got to play another 9 if I want to win the whole thing. And I was, it's got me before that, you get to the end of the tournament, I make just the stupidest mistake that I would never make. They are mistakes because you've done something wrong, but they're so dumb that it's not even quantifiable as something that you can control other than being less tired.
Yeah, just human nature, right?
Yeah.
At that point, like you were saying earlier, you didn't get out of there till 8:30.
Yeah.
I was already home. I was almost home flying back. And that, that is good practice for you, I guess, as you're a top player. I'm not. I'm trying to be.
Not yet.
Not yet. One day. But going through all this, and now you get to see it again this week. Are you ready to go? I know, okay, before we get into things too much, Henry's already talked about his run and Paldea Evolved on 2 other podcasts, Silos Network and Tag Team. So if you want to hear about that, you can go there. We'll shout out those guys. Great listens. We're going to get into stuff here that's not covered on there. We're just going to really get into it later. But I want to break down this little trip that you have. You're chasing your points, right? You're trying to lock up the top 4.
Yes and no. I think it's... I want to emphasize now, I've had an interesting journey with Pokemon over the last year. Over the last several years of it, really. Yeah. But I really stopped enjoying it during the Lugia format. Didn't enjoy it terribly much. I didn't enjoy playing Lugia, and I was like, all right, I'll play it. But after that, I was kind of like, you know what, I'm just only going to play things that I enjoy from now on. And I didn't have a deck that I enjoyed last format, so I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to go to the regionals. So I didn't go to Perth, and then I commentated Sydney. And I thought, you know what, now I'm going to approach the game that whenever I play, I want to play. And so when I'm motivated, I feel like I'm going to do better naturally. I'm just going to have a fun time, and I'm just going to have a better like attitude towards it. So new set's out, pretty cool. And I got my Worlds invite before like coming in this or anything. So I wasn't chasing day 2, but I was going to go to NAIC because I wanted to play some Pokemon. I wanted to visit my family, and then I saw there was a regional like in Fresno. So I was like, you know what? To fly from Australia, I've got to go Australia to the West Coast to go through anyway. So I was like, all right, I'll go through and do that. And then there was another one the week before in Milwaukee. So I was like, you know what? It's already so expensive from Australia that it's so little to add on these flights. Really, it was like a couple $100 more than it would be just round trip to Columbus. Which I was like, you know, why not? I've got friends I can stay with. And so I did it. And now, as a result, I am now chasing top 4. But it was never the intention quite so much as it would be like a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah, you paid for a little bit of your trip.
Yeah.
You know, you said you sold your boxes earlier. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, and obviously the accolades and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've made my money back on the trip now, like just after the thing. But then also now I'll probably get the trip to Brazil and hopefully be able to get day 2 now. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the points race in Australia.
Sure.
So that wasn't the goal per se. Did you know, I think you talked about on, was it one of the 2 podcasts, that you were in 5th? And
no, I was all the way down.
Oh, all the way down. But somebody's going to be bumped that they aren't coming to NAIC?
So someone's in 4th at the moment who's not coming to NAIC, and I'm about 35 points behind them. And their maximum with Cups and Challenges is about 560, and I'm now on 470.
No, that's rough.
So we're getting close. But I was on 190 maybe about a month ago.
Yeah.
Went to 2 challenges, won those. Went to the only cup I could go to, won that. And now went to Milwaukee, won that. And I think whilst all the Australians are very, very happy, I think some of them were obviously a bit bittersweet as well to see some day 2 chances get a bit messed up.
I think people get scared when you're hot like this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I think it's a weird thing. It's always just going to be a tournament. I could just get unlucky, and
that happens. But like when one of the top players is feeling it, like you said, find a deck you like, and just feeling it, that's kind of scary. Yeah,
and I like Gardevoir, so I was always a bit worried about the Lost Zone matchup way before I started playing it like a ton, and then went to a challenge, beat the Lost Zone matchup twice, like pretty good players. So this isn't that bad. And then I played another challenge, beat it again. Played a cup, beat it again a couple times. Played a regionals, beat it a bunch of times. Can't be that bad.
Yeah, you talked about the matchup on one of the other podcasts too. Like you said, you know, waiting to evolve the EX.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff you can do. It's really interesting. It's just the fact that it's slightly unfavored is because sometimes you just don't draw well enough early game to compete, and you get kind of shot down.
Yeah, but who's unfavored? Like, what are we basing that off of? Like your playtesting, my playtesting, online results, tournament results? Because as we've seen, Kyogre is really good.
Yeah.
But it's top heavy. The people that are playing it are really, really good.
Yeah.
I was saying in our Discord earlier, if I see a Kyogre, I feel pretty confident. Like, they're not Azul in his group, you know? So is it really that tough of a matchup? As long as you know the, you know, ebbs and flows of the match?
Yeah, it's not too bad. The Greninja's the scary part. The fact that you can just sometimes get a bit board wiped if you draw a bit weak, but it's okay. I mean, I feel like it's a matchup where if you play well, if you play better than your opponent, you're probably going to win.
Yeah.
By and large, like, which is good. It's always scary though, like, but when you get into the game and it's like really fun. It's like chess because you know you're trying to battle all these things and it feels like you're the underdog in the matchup. So it's good. It's good. But yeah, in terms of points, I think going back to what we were talking about, it's been interesting coming way back from behind. And it's not the first time I've like kind of towards the end sprinted for day 2. Like I've done it before halfway through a season, but this is definitely a new landmark for sure. But there's a lot of memes from the Australians.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've seen. There are a lot of memes, and that they were made pre-Milwaukee, and then they were
the Apollo Anton Ono ice skating one was pretty epic.
All of those. So it's been fun, and hopefully I can continue. It would be a little bit of a shame if I started just like dropping the bag now, but we'll see.
Well, you're right there, and I think, you know, NAIC is going to be hit the threshold for 512 or whatever
Yeah.
to get
Yeah, I think
60
so.
points. So, I mean, that's my backup plan.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at 310.
Ooh.
So this hopefully lock it up here. I have no cup results though.
Okay, so you got plenty of
I
options.
got time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, part of this journey here to America is to see family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's that entail? Let's get into Henry Brand.
Sure. So I've got an uncle and an aunt and a cousin who live in New Jersey.
Okay.
So I'm going to go visit them. And then I've also got a cousin who lives in New York, so I'll split some time between there. I don't get to visit them a ton, but it's really easy to combine this little trip with some family visit, which is really nice. So that's going to be good. They were all watching the tournament and everything, and which is awesome. And I think actually, a tangential note, my grandma, who's 92 now.
Oh wow.
She's 92, so she I got her a Pokemon hat from one of the tournaments years ago, and she still wears it and stuff. So she's a big fan, but one of my biggest supporters. But she told me before I left the US, as she goes, she's 92. She's all her wits about her. She's very eloquent and speaks very almost like she's the queen. And she said, "Henry, good luck, have fun, work hard, and you remember, bring home a bag of money." And she really says it, and she's multiple times every time I see her, and not from forgetfulness, just to really emphasize the point. So she heard that I did well in the recent tournament. She goes to my mum and she says, "Good, he's listened to what I told him." So, and she knows how the whole thing works. You can't always win and everything, but it's nice to have done good by my grandma, I guess.
Yeah, that's that you can't teach that wisdom.
No, it's good money.
That's
good
amazing.
advice.
92, huh?
Yeah.
So New York, New Jersey. How you've been to the States a few times?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you won a world championship here. How many events had you been to before that here?
I went to Worlds in Washington in 2014, and then I went to as a senior, and then I went to Worlds in 2019. But just before that, I went to NAIC in glorious Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I did actually pretty terribly. I had a really rough run. I played the exact same 60 as Stefan, who won the whole event. It was the Ganador, which I came up, which ended up really, really cool.
Yeah.
That was a sick deck. But I did abysmally. It was I don't know, for anyone who's listening who understands what these words mean if you're a newer player, but I played against Blacephalon and I was playing Dugong, and so you just beat the matchup super easy. Game 1, I prized both of my Dugong. Game 3, I prized both of my Dugong. And so I lost. And it was round 1 and I couldn't believe it. So that was a rough run. But other than that, no US tournaments until Milwaukee.
What do you think of the States?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot different to Australia, man. Everything is so much bigger. Your events, your milk cartons, your calories per everything, it's a lot different. And I mean, just as a scale, it's a completely different vibe. But you know what? This is a good topic. I've been staying in Santa Barbara for the last week.
Okay.
Which has been really nice. I'm staying with a student of mine. And what's weird there is that they have Australian trees planted everywhere. All these eucalypts or gum trees, And it constantly throws me off because every time I'm in Australia, you see the trees, they're Australian trees, you don't see them anywhere else, and so you're at home, you're just driving along. And then I see these trees in Santa Barbara, and it's giving me this false sense of security. I'm and there's all these trees, and it's very cool. So if you guys ever go there and you see all those trees, they're from Australia. But it's a nice little pocket of the States there as well.
Yeah, I was thinking in my research for this interview, obviously, doing some deep dives.
Of course.
Australia's population is less than California. We're in California right now.
Jeez.
Santa Barbara, obviously home of the gum trees.
Yeah.
Now, thank you for those. But so the size of Australia, and we're talking about your race, you only get 4. But if you put it in population perspective, that's one state in comparison to all of North America, and we get 16.
Yeah.
So is that much to complain about? I'm not knocking on you because your guys' talent, I think, is clearly top notch.
It's a really tricky one. I've been putting a lot of thought into this recently. I think there's a big problem that with this thing, and I guess it's not really something that they care too much about, but the problem is with the small number is not necessarily in relation to population size, but when you've got 4 spots, it really disincentivizes you from working with your friends from your country.
Sure.
Because if you've got 3 friends in Australia you want to test with and you're really good, well, you're just going to be knocking each other out of points or top 4. So you're encouraged to not work with each other. And I think that's pretty bad for like national pride when it comes to international events, when the like ICs are so important, that I personally feel like, man, I really want to work with all my friends that I would in regionals or whatever at home or other things, but I'm actively in, like, I want my fellow countrymen to do poorly because it helps me out for the top 4 race. Whereas, you know, if you've got top 8 or whatever, or even top 6, you've got 3 friends, you can all make it pretty comfortably if you're all really good and you do well every time. But with the top 4, it's a little bit of a nightmare. And I think it's just it's a bit of pressure. And I mean, like, we don't have that many events, so you, like, if you spike, then, or you go to all the ICs, which is a big thing because we don't have many. That's another thing. Top 4 in our country get the travel award, right, to the ICs, and top 16 get stipends, but stipends don't even cover a quarter of the trip for us because it's so far. And Melbourne, at least me, is equidistant from all 3 ICs. So one's not cheaper than the other, really. So think about it. If you have top 4, get the full free trip, right? So they get to go. And then how many day 2 world spots do we have?
Just the 4.
So
those 4 are so far ahead.
Yeah, so the first 4 get to their first IC. They get some points. They probably get, at least 3 of them will probably get the travel award to the next IC. Maybe a regional winner might push one of them. But they get to there. They go to the next one. And then the next one. They're pretty far ahead. Well, those 4 people got day 2. Whereas in the other countries, it's for day 2 invite, 16. Right? So, all right. Well, if you get to the top 4 travel award and you keep snowballing, there's still 12 spots left.
Yeah.
So, all of those things. I actually heard an interesting suggestion where day 2 invites should potentially be thresholded rather than top X. And then the invite just goes to top X.
Sure.
Like, sorry, not the invite, the free trip. Free trip is top X, and then day 2 invite is thresholded so that people don't miss out. Because the whole point, I think, of the day 2 invite is to do with the caliber of player.
Right.
And you can't just necessarily quantify that into a strict number. Like, you pick the top X, but like, how do you know that the difference between 4th and 5th is actually like noticeable? What if 4th and 5th are the same caliber of player, and then there's a big difference between 5 and 6? So like, I think there should be some arbitrary threshold that they pick that is reasonable for them, so that there isn't just like someone discriminated against by like 4 points or something.
Right. Like your countryman is left out because of your family trip.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, to be fair.
Potentially.
To be fair.
Yeah.
I didn't go to 2 of our regionals in the country.
And you casted one, yeah. That was...
So I think I'm going to the same amount of regionals as everyone else in the country.
True.
So it's the same, if not better for them, because I'm not there competing and knocking them out of points in the first place, potentially.
And they're missing this international, which you don't have a stipend for.
No.
So this is, you're paying for it.
Yeah.
So it is kind of pay to play, I guess.
I mean,
a little bit.
A little bit. But I also could have got a travel award to the NAIC if I had played the regionals.
Right.
Or a stipend, right? So I think I've tried to avoid getting myself a monetary advantage on other players in the race, let's say. Because there is a special event in Puerto Rico. I'm not going to go
There's
to that.
no way.
There's no way of going to that. But, you know, I'm still playing the same number of events.
Yeah. I've looked at it. It's the people that are going, and this has been a topic recently, I guess, talking about that, you know, chase. It's in the middle of Puerto Rico. I've been to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
It's not in San Juan. You're
it's
gonna
not
get
on the beach?
No, you're gonna get in and you're gonna go to the absolute middle of the island and play at a game store.
Sounds
So, you know, these people that are going are really hungry for it, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I guess so.
And is it just the, I guess the money, obviously. I mean, I'm older and have a, you know, solid job, and money's not ever really an issue for me. But it clearly is for a lot of these people, you know, your age to, you know, anyone else not as fortunate that I've been. So the money's a thing, but also that day 2 is so important. You know.
Yeah.
How important it is to get the day 2 locked up as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a weird one. I think, like, I don't like I don't really mind traveling too much for like the larger events like regionals and stuff like that. I don't think it's too much of a problem for people to go and come and go and whatever. What I think is unfortunate, and it is a part of the system, if you lean into it, then that's fine. I don't think I can really blame anyone, but it feels bad when small countries like Puerto Rico or South Africa have their 1 or 2 events maybe that is a nice focus for the player base, which otherwise they wouldn't have, and you have people come and, I guess, take points essentially. Like here in US regionals, I don't feel too bad about it. There's 1,100 people at the event. And,
okay, we've been talking about region locking it, after the results of last week.
I don't feel as bad. You guys got a ton of players, ton of events.
Yeah.
Right? Ton of 1,100 people, huge thing, and I think it's a cool flagship event. And I don't think it's too, obviously lots of people come internationally for them, and I've had a great time. And I think it's good for the circuit in terms of competition. But when somewhere like South Africa gets maybe 1 event, maybe we would feel a little bit more guilty about that.
Yeah. Well, they get 2.
My apologies.
They get 2. I was fortunate enough to meet 2 South African players at EUIC.
Cool.
And they were just the best.
Yeah.
And they were, complaining like we get a couple cups and we might not get our invites. And so this is good for them, I guess. But a lot of the world's been left out too, still. Yeah. And, it brings up bigger problems that we've seen with the Pokemon Company. We're seeing it with Korean VGC. I don't know how much you want to dig into any of these issues.
I'm not much of a VGC man, but yeah, it's
it
great.
Looks so. They're banned.
Yeah,
they're out.
Yeah,
for taking a stand.
Ridiculous.
So how much? I wanted to bring up TOs. It was a recent topic on Azul stream, and he tier listed them. You've been to a day 2 events regional. Mm-hmm. Do you think that was worthy of S tier?
I think it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great. It ran really well. My only gripe was the lunch break was exceedingly long.
What? I was going to say it was great that it was long.
What? I'm in the zone, man. I don't want a lunch break.
If you're going to do a lunch break, it's got to be long. You can't do the 40-minute lunch break.
Well, maybe I finished early, and that's why. But my match early, I finished. I was sitting around for 2 hours.
Did you go eat?
Yeah. Well, no.
Well, that's on you.
I'm in the zone. I don't really get hungry at Pokemon tournaments.
What was your record of the lunch break?
What round was it?
After 4.
3-1.
Okay. Same. We could have been paired.
Yeah.
I might have beat you.
We didn't. Yeah, I like in the zone. I like keeping it going. I don't like the kind of break in momentum. But other than that, I thought the event was fantastic. It was great. There was a slight delay, not due to the organizers' fault, but due to the Lost Zone mirror match that took about 10 years off of my lifespan.
Yeah.
But in top 4, but yeah.
Well, there was my only complaints, and I thought it was great. I don't like when they're up the escalators and all that stuff, but that's out of their control. The gnats at the top table on day 1 was super annoying. I don't know if you noticed those, the little bugs flying around.
No, I didn't see them.
Oh man, very annoying. And the other one was the clock. They put a clock up, but it was only on one side.
Yeah, okay.
That's pretty unfair.
It was pretty bad.
So when I was sitting on the other side, I would tell my opponent the time.
Yeah.
Because if, and this will bring us to another one, cheating. If you turn your head for a second, somebody's slipping a boss back into their hand.
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, I think that's the only probably gripe. That's a good point. I didn't think about it like that. The clock was very relevant. I had a game that was unbelievable. This is probably the first time I've had to do this in all of my tournaments, but we were getting really down to the wire, and I was winning game 3 against Lost Zone, and I needed maybe 3 more turns total, and my opponent started to play slow. I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but I knew that they knew when the round was up because they told me when the time would expire. And so I told them to watch for pace of play, and they were still a bit slow. So I called the judge over just to watch the rest of the match. I didn't want them to get a penalty. I just wanted to make sure, they played at a reasonable pace. So the judge was watching, and then, they ended the turn. It was a pretty long turn with Sableye damage, and I drew and I attacked in about 1 second flat, instantly. And they drew for turn, and then about 5-10 seconds later, time got called, and then I had 2 turns left to win, and I was like, Why? Even
awesome.
for the turns before, I'd been playing so fast.
Yeah.
Like lightning. I was cutting corners, and then it's a big relief when time gets called and you have enough turns left to win. But I had to turn my head to look at the clock. So
Yeah.
who knows what could happen?
Could have gone wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a problem. It's been called out. It's been caught, but that's only on stream.
Yeah.
There was somebody who was disqualified at Milwaukee. Apparently, I think it was for palming.
At Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was the holdup on one of the rounds on day 2. I think it was day 2.
Sure.
And he showed no remorse for it.
Really?
So it's like, how can you kick me out? Like if that happened to you or me, a mistake, I think we'd both be livid, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's the issue is not the issue. I'm just pissed that you're kicking me out of the tournament. Like,
Yeah.
okay. So it's clearly happening still.
Right.
Any thought? I mean, we saw the one on stream where he tilted the card up. What'd you think about that?
Those ones always weird me out because it makes me think, like, if you are cheating, how dumb are you?
Right.
Right? But, I mean, also at the same time, like, it looks incredibly dodgy. But actually what got me there was the like, Twit Longer or Google Doc or whatever that guy posted was just so bizarre. It's like, because he basically said, I didn't cheat, but my behavior is unacceptable and I can't... I shouldn't be I don't deserve a place in the community. It's like, well, if you didn't cheat, then you did nothing wrong. So what are you saying?
I wonder if he did cheat because he talked about how the judge didn't shuffle it. So when you take your prize, he fanned out the 6, and he posted the picture of it.
Right.
And the order was the exact same. So if he was aware of it enough to know the judge didn't shuffle it, take this prize, this prize, this prize, this prize. I know the next prize is this because they're in order.
Yeah.
And maybe that's when he caught it, because I don't think at that angle you could see the card. So maybe...
I don't know. I think it's very weird to, like, say that you're innocent, but then also, like, say that your behavior's wrong. It's like you're almost admitting to something that you're trying to deny.
Yeah.
In your language, like, your like, language, the actual words, things you're saying is saying one thing, but the way you're saying it is saying another. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a very weird thing in that sense. But other than that, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff lately. Obviously, they seem to be going largely unpunished, but I don't know how long it'll take for ban lists or whether it would happen or not. I think that, I mean, this is only going to be the tip of the iceberg. I think that the really intelligent cheaters are not going to get caught, unfortunately, because it's just like the way they would do it would be too plausibly deniable.
Yeah.
Or against people who aren't going to call them out on it, or newer players. And cheating's not to people don't cheat to beat everyone. People cheat to get screwed over by bad variants slightly less.
And they're, on the deeper level, they're making up for something missing in their own life. That's a part of the ethics and morals. Like I've been telling the boys, I would love to cheat. It seems so easy, but there is just part of me that could never do it. There's just, it would feel, I wouldn't be able to live with it. I couldn't do it in the moment. It's just, how do you not have that sort of, responsibility in yourself? And that's part of the problem. We're dealing with a wide age range and demographics, and, people want to get that edge.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down, and I'm, I'm going to be super honest here, like the way that the mindset is. And it's because, obviously, it is to a degree, like, tempting in the moment, right? I've had plenty of times to be like, man, I'm drawing so bad. I look through my deck, and I'd be like, right now, I could put a boss on. I could put this on the top.
Yep.
It's so easy. You could think, my opponent hasn't been cutting over and over. And this is more of a point of concept that it's so easily done.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, of course I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to do that. But man, I'm drawing so bad, and my opponent's making all these mistakes, and I'm going to lose, and I don't deserve to lose. And that's the mindset.
Yeah,
that's the cheating mindset of, well, I'm better. I know, like I know I'm better than my opponent. I deserve to win. I'm getting unlucky. It's morally acceptable if I do this. Of course, it's not. But that's the kind of thought pattern that people go through when they go to this. And it's like, therefore it's completely justified. And so they don't feel any remorse because they don't feel like they've done anything wrong.
And there's really no consequence.
No.
because you're going to lose the game anyways, and that's probably an important game, so you're out of the tournament. If you get DQ'd, what's the difference?
Yeah.
You come back next week.
I mean, it's a pretty big deal. Like, getting DQ'd is a pretty big deal, especially typically the people that I would be talking about would be high enough profile players.
Sure.
They would not want the image hit in the first place, but I mean, that's the mentality that goes into it for sure. Like 100% that's what goes into it, because like I've lost a bad variance and it sucks, you know, especially if your opponent's not playing great, you feel pretty bad, but you know, I think it's like very few people would be without temptation. It's about how you actually react to that and what you act in response to that stimulus.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. We don't know any other information other than I had a few friends that were standing by the judges' table listening to what was going on. So it's all hearsay, I guess. But yeah, the fact that it still goes on, and I'm glad that they're catching people at least. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like on stream, which just means you're really dumb.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the stacking at the SP, and it was so bad. The fist bump. I wanted a fist bump just in the middle of the game, just to throw somebody off now. Like, wait, is he stacking? Like, call a judge, let him watch.
Yeah. I don't know. I could never do it.
Yeah.
How would I feel? How would I feel accomplished afterwards?
Right.
How could I possibly be like, yeah, I deserve? Like, how could you possibly think that? But,
it might get a little worse too with NAIC coming up.
Yeah.
People's invites.
Very true.
Could be worse. You know, people are desperate to go to Japan, which is expensive. How much is it from Australia?
A whole lot cheaper than going anywhere else.
It's gotta
Probably
be,
about,
right?
I want to say you can get a good flight for about 1,000 AUD.
Okay.
Bit less, bit more, depending.
Yeah.
Pretty good. It's about 800 US. So.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Not bad.
I don't want to tell you what I paid. I bought it. I haven't even qualified. I bought it last night.
Yeah.
It
cost
a lot
me,
more than that.
It cost me 2,500 US to come to the US.
Okay, that's not bad.
About that? Bit more maybe?
That's what I was looking at for OCIC. I couldn't go because time of the year, but
yeah. I mean, you say it's not bad. It's a fair bit of money.
I mean, yeah, right. Yeah. But that that's what it is
more,
to go to Australia and back. But that was to the East Coast.
That's to Columbus return.
To Columbus. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's even worse, and that's part of my big gripes with TPCI is why are we having our internationals in Columbus in the first place?
Affordable, I guess, for them.
For them.
Yeah.
How about Chicago?
Yeah.
Cheaper flight for you. Denver, Dallas, any international airport.
Yeah.
You know, we're keeping the international part of it. You know, we're leaving that out. Like, let's showcase what we have to offer. We're sitting here in Fresno recording right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the weather's been awesome. The weather's great.
Nice and warm.
But
I've escaped winter and back home.
Yeah. I looked up the weather. It's only like 60 degrees, though. That's not winter.
Nah, it's winter. It's winter.
It's
rainy. It's gross.
It doesn't snow? Does it snow?
Nah.
Yeah. Okay. You can deal with it.
Yeah, I'll be right.
And that brings up another issue with the Pokemon Company.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just hop into it. Live. It's Big Live Week. The official launch.
It is.
How fun.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So you said you test with Limitless.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I test with Limitless is not necessarily a live thing, and it's more to do with the fact that I test against myself in early stages, because it's, well, one, I trust my opponent. Two, I get to understand how the matchups play out a little bit more. By seeing both sides, I get to understand a little bit more the card advantage and how it flows and what's reasonable for each side to be able to do it at different points. But also, it's so fast.
Yeah.
And the reason the Limitless is so sick is I used to play against myself just like 2 TCGO accounts or...
Oh, really?
Or like, yeah, sometimes.
I've been playing live, and I build the decks out.
Yeah.
I have like a table set up in the middle of one of my extra rooms, and I'll get up and move to the other side, and I'll just leave the hand out.
That's what I did for the longest time. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It's good. It's good fun. It's good practice. But tabletop, I've got 2 monitors. I get 2 browser tabs open. I can play a whole game in 5 minutes with the hotkeys once you get used to it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
lightning. It's so good, honestly. Robin is a genius, but that works for me. But live, it scratches that itch when you want to play against someone online, and I haven't encountered a ton of bugs, but I've been hearing some really shocking things. But on the flip side, if they fix those bugs, the card acquisition is fantastic. Okay, I can get all the cards I need really quick.
I don't know. Is it though? Because you still have to get credits.
For someone with a whole lot of credits, it's pretty good.
Right. It's easy if you have credits, but if you think of the free-to-play model, and they give you 2 of something when you need 4.
Yeah.
So you're chasing 2 things and now you're basically stuck on that because it's
later down the ladder.
It's expensive to get it.
Yeah.
I think it still, incentivizes buying packs, right?
Yeah, it does.
Like you just have to buy packs.
I guess so. I mean, that's the whole business model at the end of the day. But
is it? Those are third-party sites.
I don't know.
Nobody's going out to the store and buying every single off the Walmart, shelf to crack open for packs.
No. Look, I'm not too sure on that one. I think that live in general, I do probably enjoy a little bit less than TCGO in terms of just the way the game flows. I've definitely played less than I used to play TCGO, for sure.
Yeah, same.
It's just a little bit slower and a bit clunkier. I think some things look nice, but overall it feels a little bit a bit bloated, maybe, I think is the good way to put it. But, I mean, I like my Limitless. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Just kind of solitaire a bunch, but I think it's unfortunate how it's eventuated, because when it was first revealed, I was like, this is sick.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty cool. I was like going to try and organize because I thought it was coming out much sooner than it was, but I was going to try and organize some kind of like Twitch Rivals thing or something for a bunch of like famous Twitch streamers and like
Sure.
get them to play live, and I coach them and stuff, but then it just didn't come out for ages, and now all the hype died around it. Like, the streamers don't care, like people who don't really play Pokemon but like it just lost interest. The momentum died for it, and the end result was really just not.
It's rough for the state of the game.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like all this momentum that's been building from COVID and post-COVID, like we're seeing record numbers at every event.
Yeah.
Is just stymied by uninterest in playing, okay, think of NAIC. The only results we're going to get to see are going to be a few smaller, 60, maybe a late night or something, a couple 100-person event, and the SP in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to be playing online. Everyone's like, we've been doing webcam testing and stuff like that. Like, it's just so sad because it feels like the game was about to explode, and be huge.
I think it still has, but I get what you mean. I thought those live was going to bring a whole bunch of people in, but I think it's done. I don't think it's pushed anyone out, but it's definitely not had the growth factor. Although personally, I do kind of enjoy a little bit when there's not a massive amount of, information available for decks. I think it's cool because I said this on another video, but I had that damn Gardevoir Reversal Mewtwo deck written out in my notepad before it was played in Japan, and now it's all released. And there is a Japanese national starting in about 3 hours.
No, it's like right now.
Yeah.
It's going right now.
So there's that. Oh, is it on right now?
Yeah.
Cool. So there's that we can tune into.
We can watch that tonight.
As I check my watch to make sure I can submit my list in time before.
That's the other problem. We can go back to the TOs. That's a huge issue. I put mine in already just to be safe.
Sure.
But like now, like we're doing this, we should be, kind of hammering out maybe that one extra card that we wanted to include, but we have 4 hours left.
Nah, that's all right.
Well, I know you're fine.
Yeah.
You saw me sweating over here a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a bit weird. I almost teed off. We had in Australia the first regional back after COVID, and thankfully it was changed since it was the first time they'd used Arcane Iron. We used to just do paper. And we had to submit our deck. How many hours in advance do you think? Guess.
2 days.
24 hours.
24.
So not quite 2 days, but still, I hadn't even left my house yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think part of the atmosphere and part of the vibe is getting here. And also, you got to understand that people have to take time off of work to come to a regional. All right, or whatever event. It's unreasonable if they're going to take probably the Friday off, or at least half the Friday to travel here, and then they're going to take the weekend off. Well, not the weekend, like they're done, but it's going to take
maybe
them,
the weekend.
Yeah, maybe.
It might work.
Or like they might have a whole lot of other things they have to do in their personal life to take care of while they're going to be away. All right. So part of that time then gets dedicated to when you get to the venue, you test that night, you get some final things sorted that maybe you hadn't had the chance to iron out beforehand, and then you get yourself ready, you labor a little bit, you double check in the morning, you submit your list, and then you play the tournament.
Yep.
Right? Now,
maybe go get that last card you need at the vendor.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Or maybe, you talk. I think to take that last few hours away from players is completely unnecessary, regardless of if it is, like, the fact is that it shouldn't do anything to their event management. And it clearly doesn't, because no other event does this, right? So why do they feel the need to take it away from players? I see people say, oh, we shouldn't be laboring over at the last minute anyway. You shouldn't make last minute decisions. It's just like an assignment. No, it's not, because it makes no difference if you submit it in the morning or not.
Right.
Why would you not give the players the several hours agency more to live their best life? If they want to stay up all night testing and then have no rest for the tournament, good on them.
And their only explanation at the time was to not confuse sending out alerts for Go and VGC when that came back. That's great. Fine. That one event.
Yeah.
They've had errors. We had reseeding at Salt Lake City, the first regional back. We had reseeding, I think, at Vancouver. So they aren't obviously not a good TO. That's fine. But that was their excuse. Okay, so you figured it out. Send the tweet out. That's fine. So anyways, at Vancouver this year, and I'll tell the story again because I think people need to hear it. One of the TOs, one of the main TOs, he's on the website. I don't know the name because they don't specify which is which. Somebody, another red-shirted, head judge or whatever they are, asked him, I overheard this. They go, what do you think all these players complaining about, the decklist submission and all this stuff? And he goes, well, they can deal with it. And that was just threw it off like,
sick.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Well, good for you. Like, what does it change as a TO and running the organization? What does that matter to you?
Yeah,
right? What difference does it make? RK9 handles it.
Yeah.
So it's just so frustrating that they don't care, and I wouldn't, I'm glad this is coming out after because, maybe the judges look a little harder on you.
Yeah.
If you talk about them a little bit.
Sure.
I don't want that. So I'm glad this is the last event, but like they need to be either, and that goes back to TPCI not really caring about us. They just, see us as dollar signs, but to find a replacement, I know there's plenty of people that could run events and take that place.
Yeah.
I know you have much bigger issues with your regionals. You got displaced by the Great British Bake Off, or what was that about?
Yeah. But there's, that was unfortunate. The ESL managed to
How does that happen?
I don't know. I don't know if there was a bake-off or whatever, but they didn't manage to keep their initial contract time. So ended up being a pretty bad reschedule.
Yeah.
So that sucked, but I think, I just can't understand this decklist submission time over here, but hey, we're going to do it, and we're going to see how it goes tomorrow, but...
Yeah, well, we've got some time. Let's see if I got anything else here. What sleeves do you play?
Man, this is a good one. I was almost always as loyal as you can get to anything non-glare.
Okay.
Non-gloss, I'll be playing them. But I can't seem to find a pack of non-gloss sleeves to save my life.
Really?
No matter what. I don't really like the Dragon Shield non-gloss that much, but I just want a pack of shitty Ultra Pros.
Sure.
I'll trash them after the event. No worries. Chuck straight in the bin. Not very good for the environment, but that's what I want to do. Can't find them at all. So
really?
I've been using Ivory Dragon Shields at the last event, and I'll probably use them again today or tomorrow.
Okay. How often do you change your sleeves?
If I'm using the non-glare stuff, I change them every single second or something, because they last so little time. They're pretty cheap, but they're not longevity, right? They kind of curve and not curve, but they get some bad corners, or they get really dirty really quick.
Oh,
the
yeah.
non-glare stuff, they just rack up dirt like nobody's business. And I wash my hands.
Yeah, I do too. My hands are they get just paper, mache type, flaky, because I'm washing them every time.
Sure.
And then you hand it over to your opponent to look at it oh no.
So, yeah, I don't know, they're all right, but I've changed between tournaments for this one.
Yeah.
But I don't usually change my sleeves unless I'm going into a tournament.
Okay. Did you change day 1, day 2?
Not the whole thing. Just I
Just
sorted through them, looked for
looked
any
through 'em.
dented corners, swapped them over,
Okay.
and made sure everything was all above board.
I do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I like keeping all the used ones to
Sure, yeah.
sleeve everything else with.
Oh yeah, makes sense. I'm usually too lazy.
How do you get your cards?
I usually try and buy them in person, but I'm probably gonna have to order some Paldea stuff to make us my family's house. Used to get some from like a local store, but there's not that many that have them nowadays. So try and just like, I guess now I'll probably order them in. But
It's probably a good time while you're here.
yeah,
Because we get.
yeah, we don't have TNT, we don't have TCG Player,
Yeah.
none of that we can order from. So best time would be now, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Vendors has been cool though, because I really like playing. This is actually a fun thing to talk about. I'm firmly of the belief that playing full art supporters gives you at least a tiny percentage like increase in prize checking.
Oh, absolutely.
You just can't argue against it. It's fine if you don't want to spend the money, but for me, where I like really want to like, if I'm playing a tournament, I want to give myself the best chance to do well, and for me, that's spending $200 extra on full arts.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm doing.
This going into Iona format.
Yeah, like this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right? I'm playing a tournament, I'm taking it seriously, and if I'm doing something, I'm going to do it properly. And the way that I can see that is to make sure I can prize check the most efficiently. And
Right.
for me, that's full arts. It might not be for everyone, but also it's just like the most contrasting cards you can get. Normally that would be playing the regular blue Manaphy, but unfortunately the full art one looks really
It's
nice.
so good.
So I've broken from my tradition there, but for me it's something where like I feel like I can help myself make a tiny few less errors, and I'm gonna I guess put the effort in. Like I'm trying to do something at the top of my game.
Yeah.
So
A back-to-back would be.
it'd be pretty crazy.
It'd be epic.
But I mean, $200 is $200. Not everyone can afford that if they
Right.
can play. But when I'm trying to play at a, I guess, professional level, like this is a job I coach,
Yeah.
other things, it's part of it's a business expense. Yeah.
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 True. We can shout out your coaching right now. Actually, let's talk about that for a second, real quick.
Sure.
I've heard from the other podcasts, you're not really open until after NAIC, but you do coaching.
Yeah.
I have gotten coaching from you one time. I won the.
You did too. I gave away a free coaching
I won-
session on my stream. That's right.
Yep, and I've also got coaching from Tord.
Mm.
And not to give away too much of the secrets of the coaching, because obviously you guys, if you want coaching, go out and get it. But your discussion with me is about prize mapping, and Tord's was more about sort of the mental state of how you play the game. So if you had one tip to give people, what would that be?
One tip. How am I meant to pick one tip?
Henry's free coaching nugget of the day.
That's hard, man, because usually coaching, you're trying to, like, I think the best thing about coaching is, like, when you don't know what you need to work on, someone can help. Because if you know exactly, if you know you need practice playing Gardevoir against Lost Zone, well, there's probably hundreds of videos you can watch.
Yeah.
Sure, a coach will make it, like, really nice and concise in an hour and might give it a good way to do it. And it's still really valuable. But the absolute best thing is when you don't know how to improve, you don't know how to get over the hill, and someone can sit down with you, figure that out for you, and give you an actual like plan to improve.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way. So it's hard to pick one exact thing. I'm trying to think now.
We talked about prize checking.
Yeah, I mean, price checking is okay.
It's a thing.
There is one cool thing that I think I haven't seen many people do other than me, and what I think is really good is actually playing games with your prizes face up. I tell people to do this because it's one thing to practice the action of prize checking, but that information means jack all
Right.
if you don't know how to use it. So you need to know how to use the information of what's actually prized.
That's smart.
So you can wait until you search your deck the first time and flip the prizes.
Yeah.
And when you take them, take them randomly.
Right.
But it means whenever you play the game, you're using that information, you're getting used to thinking in that way. And the common thing is like I might, you don't always have to check all 6 at the start. And often you'll see me, like, if you see on stream, like, I'll recheck prizes frequently because,
Sure.
let's say I'm taking a prize, and I really need a draw supporter if I'm going to go for a greedy play, right? I have limiting on in hand. I could go for draw supporter or a boss, right? I have 3 draw supporters in my prizes, all right? I'm going to go for the boss because I've got 50-50 out of 6 to hit the prizes. They can use it as a resource.
Yeah.
That's why the Schultz brothers played Town Map for so long.
Yeah.
But so using the actual, like, practicing using it rather than just getting it is a big deal. And I tell people, I often say, I'm not going to remind you to prize check a lot of the time because that's got nothing to do with me. You don't need someone to tell you how to prize check. You can do that, especially when people have been playing for a bit. I need you to be doing that because that's not what I'm here for. Right?
Yeah.
You can do that in your own time, practice checking. I'm here to help you actually practice using that information because, like, that's what you actually need to be taught.
Just fundamentals. Know your list. Know what prioritize, what to check first. You don't need all 6. You don't need to take 5 minutes because that's really annoying.
But also, you can practice that like in your own time.
I did it with I took like energies, like 10 of each energy, and would just shuffle them up and put 6 away.
That's cool.
And then kind of just to, kind of. That's how I started doing it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Practice shuffle because I hadn't played IRL really. So, a lot of people, especially coming out of the COVID stuff, you play somebody and this is their first regional.
Yeah.
You're like, congrats, this is awesome.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I played it. My round 1 opponent was their first regional.
Yeah.
I was like, that's awesome.
And you get to play. You get to play me.
My deepest apologies, but it's good to see you. So, my opponent was like, there was a lot going on at the hall, and they were pretty distracted. And it's their first regional. I said to him, like, there's a lot going on, like, around. So if you like get distracted and you don't know what I did, just please ask me.
Yeah.
I'll explain clearly so that you know everything's above board. But that was a good experience. But as far as the tips go, I think that's a cool thing to try, is practicing using the information rather than just like practicing getting it, because people tell you to prize check, but
what does it do for you?
Yeah, you have to know how to use it.
Although, as I'm playing Lugia tomorrow, as I know you're totally against in principle.
I'm not against it. I think like it's a good deck with good matchups. I just don't enjoy playing it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm playing coin flip for my invite.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially,
Nice.
It's I ID'd with Mike Fouché in round 7 because we were in game 3 of Lugia Mirror. It's like both games were just. Yeah. Do we really want to flip for it? It's like no. Let's just take our point. We can each win a game.
Yeah.
But I'm playing 2 Burnett.
Cool.
Because when I prize checked, it was always like the energy first, and I should always check Burnett because Burnett's so important. So at least I just know my hierarchy, and I'll figure everything out later.
Good call.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why I'm telling you these things.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, right.
I mean, no, it's good. I don't think I have any like specific things that I can think of off the top of my head. I think I've actually learned a lot from coaching over the years, like myself, in terms like the way I think about it. It's much more structured, and I have like better groupings and terms for things in my head than I did before.
Yeah.
In terms of that, so I think it's done me a great service doing it in the first place, and I've gotten much better at it over the years to where I'm pretty happy in terms of how good I am at like actually teaching people the game. I mean, I'd done it before I actually started coaching. I had done it in terms of I got 2 friends into the game, and they from Pokemon, and I would just play with them all the time, and I taught them how to play from the ground up. And my friend got his invite in the first season.
Oh wow!
He played, which was sick. And one of the reasons we would just play Zoroark mirrors over and over.
Oh
god! But yeah. So anyway, moral of the story, I feel like coaching is pretty cool.
Yeah.
At least for me, it's done me a good service in my own game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're not available till after NAIC.
I think I'm gonna have a few spare sessions, but it's just a little bit chaotic, so I can't just. I have a calendar service, but I can't leave it open at the moment. It's going to be just by like expression of interest only.
Well, because you're here, that's got to be tough.
And I want to be focusing on like testing and all that stuff. So
how do you start testing? Like, do you just pick the deck that you've said you like to watch the Japanese list? So do I. And I just have folders of lists.
Yeah.
And it's like, what looks the coolest, and you just start there, or do you think like, actually, what's the meta? We're going to see the Japanese stuff tonight, so we'll have. More. I wish I saved every time they print the meta out, because you remember what the top deck was played, but I wish I'd saved all those so you can go back and see how it translates to, Western sort of,
Yeah. I've just kind of been doing that. I like to try and come up with my own stuff as well. So I think there's a lot of cards that are underlooked. Got some pretty cool cool ideas floating around. I don't know how like they're going to eventuate. I got one that is the classic, like, man, this deck is literally insane if I don't pair a single Lost Box all tournament. Like, I feel like I would just go 18-0.
Really?
Yeah, convinced. But I've also played like 20 games against Lost Zone and I've lost 19 of them. So
Yeah.
So that's a bit scary. But I don't know. I'm trying to like come up with some cool new things.
Do you just write stuff off? Like, say, like, I'm not going to test
try everything. Yeah.
whatever. I don't know the names of the.
I tried Ting Lu pretty early on.
Ting Lu, yeah.
I wrote it off as soon as I actually understood why it was bad.
Yeah.
And then other things are pretty good. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do things. Like, for example, I tested a lot of Chen Pao lists. My default is to make things as consistent as possible and like play on their inherent strengths. So I started with Chen Pao. I had like some cool, very like consistent lists. Problem is too linear. So then you have to try and think of a way to keep it consistent, but also increase the flexibility or the power level of it. And that's the tricky part.
Yeah, and that comes into like you have too many cards. You know, you don't have a lot of wiggle room because it takes a lot of cards just to, rare candies and stage 2s and all that stuff.
That's for sure.
Which is unfortunate because some of those ideas are really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure somebody will figure it out. It's probably going to be you. Maybe.
I think people are already getting onto. I won't talk about it too clearly. People are getting onto how I think Chen Pao should be played.
I have a way that I want to play it.
Yeah.
We can talk about it offline.
So we'll see about that one. But
yeah, it's something we'd talked about for a while, and you don't see it. And another thing, like I came up with an idea. Me and Locke came up with an idea, and then you see it like a week later, and the Japanese results. Like,
yeah,
dang it.
Yeah,
it's out there now.
I know.
Like, this is such a good idea.
Yeah.
Your reversal energy. I mean, you got to know that's gonna be popular though.
Yeah, for sure.
And every Japanese list has Luxray in it too. If you play reversal,
they
play
Luxray.
Sick. Yeah,
that card is sick.
It hits great weakness on everything.
It just hits good.
Hits 180 on anything. Like it's just
great card. It's a good card.
How do you find it?
It's cool, man.
How do you find it though? You have to play an Ultra Balls.
Yeah, just Ultra Ball for it.
Yeah.
You can use some cool stuff. Ultra Ball for it. Yeah. Draw into it.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. You tweet. I was going to go through your Twitter thoughts of Paldea and see how they held up. I think they were on like May 1st.
Yeah.
But we can save that for another time.
Sure.
Well, it's great having you. Do you want to shout out your Twitter? And we've talked about your coaching already.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like talking about it too much. I've actually never posted about it on Twitter. Not even once.
Yeah.
You know that? I feel pretty proud about that. And I'm really going to keep it that way. But if you want to get coaching, I'll help you out. Can help you play some Pokemon cards a little bit better. But other than that, I tweet some funny stuff every now and then. You can go there. I stream once in a while. You can do that. Otherwise, please, hopefully you'll enjoy any future games I play on stream.
Yeah, I miss your streams. Those were like, the timing was perfect. It was in the morning.
Yeah.
And like, so I can have it up and work and, so we'd like to see you back streaming some more, but I had to cancel my sub. Yeah, I know. I feel bad.
I'll have to get back on it.
I know. All right. Well, this has been the Lake of Rage podcast. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like,